Hey mamas, it's Krista Noel, founder of the Intuitive Divorce, and I'm popping on here straight after class with my beautiful team member, Master Coach Joe Young. And we're a little tender. We're a little tender because today was a bit bittersweet. We had two mamas in our group graduate, and I say bittersweet, and I always use this term. It's like empty nesting all over again, where you're so excited for your kid to go out into the world, and maybe it's going to college or whatever that next step is, that rite of passage. And yet, your mama heart aches because it's disrupting the status quo and it's change and it's time to let them go and let them fly. And, this is a really powerful journey. And when we walk beside mothers who are navigating their divorces and showing up and sharing their hearts and trying to heal and protect their kids and divorce smarter and reclaim their lives, we do not take any of that lightly. And so when it's time to let them fly the coop, it's a little tender for all of us. And so we always have this little, kind of just little wonderful, heartwarming ceremony, and we celebrate them and we celebrate this beautiful journey they're on. And it's not to say that within our program is for 4 months, it's not to say that life is completely transformed in the sense that their divorce is over and everything is in place, but they are transformed and their children are transformed and how they are navigating their divorce is transformed. And again, we're constantly beating this drum, which is don't wait until you're on the other side of divorce. It's now. Now is the time. And that's one of the things probably where we should start today, Joe, right? We were talking about reflecting back to the time that each of these mothers had joined the program. And we
Mhm.
wanted them to remember where they were, how they were feeling, what they were thinking, what they thought was possible. And that's where the gold is because as they just paused and stopped and they remembered how much their life has transformed, how much they have transformed, how they have learned to really connect with their intuition, to trust their voices, to get clear, to get calm, to get grounded so that they can show up for all the things that are most important for them.
Yeah, it's really huge to watch the self-trust, the self-knowledge in each of them grow. And, that's something they get to carry forward throughout the rest of their divorce process and beyond. And it was really fun today to be able to look back and to go, oh man, I remember when you first showed up here and some of the comments and beliefs that were, still being held and the difference in that today
Hmm.
around what is possible, around being able to imagine a life that's different because they've started to put those processes in motion and shift the way they think about it. Now they're like completely on a roll. I just said to you, there's nothing better than when mamas leave this program and you go, they are totally standing on their own 2 feet. We've given them all the tools that we can in this time frame, and they have soaked it up.
Hmm.
And these two today in particular have shown up time and time again, even in and out of meetings in their car. I said to one of them, my favorite times was how many times you showed up for class and said, I really don't want to be here
Oh, I
today.
know. I know.
And yet
Yeah.
you kept showing up because
Hmm.
you knew you were worth it and you
Hmm.
knew it mattered and you knew it made a change and a difference.
That
And
that is
so
that is the most
it's the
beautiful point,
best.
and just made the distinction that when you're going through a divorce, there are going to be a lot of days where you feel like you've just been knocked off your feet. There are a lot of days where you will have been up all night worrying or anxiety ridden, or you're fighting with your kids, or you're saying regret. You're just whatever. There's just a lot. It's a lot. Nobody can say that it's not a lot. And those are the days when you're feeling like shit that you need to show up in this container. You know why? Because it's all about you. It's all about you having a space to keep it raw and real and to be seen and heard and workshop and process and just move that energy. And these women got that. These women got that, and that's why the needle moved. Each and every one, even the ones that are in the program right now in the inner circle that are more like maybe at the beginning and they haven't even, taken certain steps, but they're seeing the reflection in this and they're already learning. They're, let's just say not even learning, but it's like reestablishing their connection to their self, their worthiness, their own
Mm.
worthiness, their ability to support that, their ability to voice that, communicate consciously, to ground themselves, to protect themselves. And when I say protect, it's more about, like, let's say, healthy boundaries. What am I available for? What am I no longer available for? And this one mother that was a part of this graduation today, she also said through tears that there were so many things that she realized that she was embarrassed about, or I wish I had done this sooner, or I wish I hadn't been involved with this, or I wish I had known, and the crux of it is shame. We feel embarrassed, for example, that we make the choices that we make, or we stay in unhealthy relationships longer than we want to. And sure, I mean, shame wells up. And okay, but what are we going to do with that? I reflect back to them and say, okay, great. But you know what? Do you know how powerful it is to be able to vocalize that, to be able to see that? And the most beautiful thing that happened with this mother is that in the past, she was telling her story, I would say more from a victim stance. This happened, he did this, this was done to me. And through this process, she's reclaimed her story. It's about her journey and what she's going to do with it now. And I will tell you, it's the most badass thing in the world to say, hey, you know what? I'm a little bit embarrassed about that choice that I made, or I wish I had this or that or whatever, but I see it now. And now is all that matters. Super,
Mm.
super and powerful.
Hmm. Yes. And that's the thing with shame, the things that we're ashamed about, as soon as we name them, the shame starts to dissipate. As soon as we show up and go, wow, I really felt a lot of shame about that, or I really didn't handle that the way I wanted to, or whatever the case may be. As soon as we do that, shame's grip becomes less tight.
Mhm.
It's like all of a sudden, oh, there's space to resolve this, there's space to let this go. And it really does start with naming it. And so I was so proud of her today for showing up, because none of us want to go, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I was where I was, that I stayed as long as I did, that I put myself in that position, that I didn't listen to my intuition, I didn't see the red flags, whatever it is. And we all have that piece of us, that story. And the thing about it is, the only way to let it go is to name it and to go, and now I know different.
Mhm.
It's so incredible.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
And
incredible.
exactly to your point, who doesn't have shame or who hasn't been embarrassed about something or who has a little secret tucked away that they don't want to talk about because we wrongly feel that we've got to go through this world presenting a certain facade and showing up for people in a certain way that pleases them, but ultimately nobody wins in that equation. Nobody wins in that scenario. And it's just amazing. And I love another term that you brought into class today. The other mother that was graduating just took a bold step this week and she bought a house. So she solved a problem. And I have to tell you, it's not the act of just buying the house. It was this complete transformation in her willingness to look at her life through a new lens. Because when we first started working together, she really dug her heels in and she was only looking at things from a certain frame. I want this house. I have to live here. I'm not, she was, and as soon as she started to say, like, well, I think I want the house or I think I want to stay here. However, I'm open to see where this leads me. And it was really interesting because the minute she let go of that, life started to present itself and new options appeared. Now, it's not a right or wrong. It's just that there's a lot of possibility here. And there's a lot of possibility when you just let yourself exhale. And that's an internal job. That's not something that you're going to get guided from by your attorney or financial advisor or your anyone on your team. It's nurturing the internal journey. And that is what this group is all about. It's about showing up for you. And the term that you brought into class that I thought was so beautiful, when this mom was talking about buying her new house, you said she was rehoming.
That's right. She got to really step into rehoming herself,
Hmm.
not just physical location,
Hmm.
obviously, but
Hmm.
she is returning to what home means to her, to who she is as the home base. It's just such a beautiful process. And yeah, you're right. When we start to open to possibility is when the possibilities show up.
Hmm.
And when we're so tied to either in shame and it has to look a certain way, otherwise the facade is going to be lost, or whether we're so stuck in certain ideas and beliefs and patterns, which we do a beautiful job of uncovering in this program. And we can reframe that into, okay, that's the way things were. Now, what are the possibilities moving forward that are in alignment with the version of you that you are now? And that is the transformation that takes place here, because we can let go of all of the past stuff. Doesn't mean that it magically disappears and we no longer have to deal with people and all of that, but we get to reframe the approach. We
Hmm.
get to reframe it as, now I get to be centered and grounded and in alignment with what I want. So when I'm faced with all of these decisions, conversations, rehoming, whatever the case may be, I do it from a place of centeredness. I do it from a place because it matters to me and I know I'm worth it.
Hey,
And
listen,
it's, you know,
yeah, you're
that's what we're
calling
here
on,
for.
yeah, you're calling on your inner sage. You're just activating
Yes.
her. And what you're doing is it's not, no one's saying you're going to go through this life without the ups, downs, and all arounds, or that you're not going to bump up against discomfort. But what happens as you start to move through life in new ways, you're cutting through the chaos. You're pivoting faster. You're seeing what's going on and discovering more and more and more about yourself. And life just becomes a lot smoother. It just becomes a lot smoother, even when you bump up against the stuff that you don't want to bump up against, you know. And divorce typically puts people into two categories. One where the ones are totally in perpetual motion, so they don't have to stop and look at anything, or the other one when they're just totally flattened and in despair. But there's a whole other life that's going on in the in between. And this is why so much of our work is, as Joe just said, really focused on, well, first of all, it's focused on you. It's focused on how you're feeling, how your body's feeling, how's your nervous system, how are you connected to that? What are you creating space for? What are you running from? What are you hiding from? Um,
How to
don't hide.
work with the fear that's coming up as
Right.
part of all of this. Work with it rather than letting it keep you stuck.
Hmm. Hmm. It's a beautiful room. It's a beautiful container. It's a beautiful program filled with beautiful mothers who,
Mm,
even when they're showing up on those
mm.
days when they don't want to show up, especially on those days, and I mean, we can read their faces right away, and we just lean in and we love on them, and we really just help them process and get out what needs to get out. And it's this safe space. And today we were really reflecting back to them, each and every one of them, no matter where they were in the process, that the mere fact that they were here showing up for themselves week after week and doing this work is just the most beautiful, transformative gift they could give themselves.
And give each other. It was so lovely to hear the other moms say, you've been such an inspiration watching you show up here every week and go through the things that you've gone through and to share
Mhm.
it and to be raw and to be willing to also support where each of us are in the program. So it's just, I know we say this often as we have these chats, how fortunate we feel, but there is no greater honor than walking beside someone who is returning to self.
Hmm.
That is just, there are no words to describe it. And I feel like that's what we do here. And we provide a little support and a little air under their wings when they need it. But ultimately, these women are learning how to do that for themselves. And we just walk along beside them and provide the tools needed. It is the greatest honor to sit in this seat and be witness to these beautiful women's stories and their souls and their hearts, and to see what they want next for themselves and to allow
I
themselves
get
to dream,
excited.
yeah,
Yeah.
they got, I mean, there was a lot of that today too. I'm
Hmm.
so excited for what's next. It's scary, and I'm so excited for what's next. And that's a whole different ball game from coming in complete fear and shutdown, which is a lot of where women start. So
Well,
it's, the transformation is, it's just palpable with
right.
each of them.
And it also is testament to the power of story. Because you can read a book, you can listen to a podcast, you can read a newsletter, but when you are actually sitting in a container and you are bearing witness to a woman who is sharing her story, there's nothing more powerful than that. And it's the other thing that I always forget, that the real secret sauce here is community, is connection. There are other coaches, there are other programs, but very few have this group component where women really get to show up in community. And it's so needed. You know what? We don't need any more isolation. We don't need to suffer in silence. We don't need to pretend that we're something that we're not. We do that enough. We've done that pretty much our whole lives. You know, the world told us to show up a certain way, to show up in our communities, in our churches, in our whatever it was. And it was like in our marriages, in our family of origin. This is the place where we don't have to show up as anyone other than ourselves. And that's a very, very powerful thing. And that's what you need. You don't need to be isolated from the truth of who you are. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. And so it's why Joe and I love doing this work. Well, we just say work, it's a
In
labor of
case you
love.
couldn't tell.
Yeah, exactly. We could go on, but I bet you have some other things to do today. We wanted to pop on here and we wanted to just share that. And we hope that it's inspired you a little bit to also remember that you don't have to be isolated in this and that there is a better path to a better divorce. And you know what? It's all about you. For once in your life, it's all about you. Because if you want to show up for all the things you love most in your life, your children, your family, your job, your future, you got to show up for you. You are the foundation. So we encourage you as you're navigating these messy waters of divorce to do everything in your power to advocate for yourself and to nurture that process. And we are a phone call away. We would love to have you join the inner circle. Please, if you haven't already, check us out at intuitivedivorce.com, get on our newsletter list, check out our app, Intuitive Divorce, or our social media platforms, Intuitive Divorce. There's a lot of great information there to support you on this journey because we, again, really want to help you transform your divorce and divorce differently on your terms.
Beautifully said. I think we can leave it right there.
Thank you for another beautiful class.
Yes.